Hello, and welcome to Back Through the Lens, where two film school friends talk about movies through the haze of nostalgia. The good, the bad, and the ones that aren't quite how we remember them. I'm your host, Rachel, and with me is my co-host, Joe. Today's topic is the Naked Gun franchise.
With an overabundance of quick quips and swift sight gags, parody comedies were a big part of our childhood. Often poking fun at current film trends and generic genre cliches, these films are not just tore down tropes, but also helped reinvigorate the style being mocked. With silly slapstick, terrifically timed lines, and deadpan deliveries, this style of comedy usually had something for everyone to enjoy.
Yeah, for some reason we thought it would be a good idea to talk about an entire franchise this time in one episode.
Whew! 6 hours of Naked Gun.
It was really an experience watching them back to back.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched two on one day. I watched the last one the next day, but still, basically back to back. It's funny seeing what gets repeated. I think actually some of the repeated jokes hold up better when you watch them this way, but it's also just
Yeah.
not realistic.
Oh, yes, also that too. It just does bring me back to a time when not just the Naked Gun movies, but this style of movie was really funny to me. I couldn't get enough of them. And, anything with Leslie Nielsen when you're 12 years old, you know what you're going to be in for. And
Yeah.
it's an old man doing child humor, but deadpan, and what's not to love?
I think I almost had so much more appreciation for Leslie Nielsen as an actor, but also the way he delivered his lines. He was so, to reuse a word that I've been hearing lately, is earnest in his delivery.
Oh, no.
If you're listening to our entire season, you can guess which episode we released today.
Man.
And we'll get into that a little bit too. The writers really wanted actors who were not comedy actors because they felt like this whole franchise worked because everyone delivered their lines as if they were in a regular, not goofy movie.
Right.
And I would say for the most part, it paid off.
Yeah. I also kind of felt that sometimes some of these movies, like the actors, were also not very good. It just seemed like they were almost acting bad on purpose. I just think they were not used to doing this sort of movie, and it worked.
Mm-hmm. I would say you're correct that a lot of them are new to comedy specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is all bringing up stuff that I have a lot of notes on. So why don't you introduce the first movie in our franchise?
Okay. Our first movie in the franchise is The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad, directed by David Zucker, release date December 12th, 1988, and it was rated PG-13. If you haven't seen The Naked Gun 1, Police Squad, Lt Frank Drebin, back from a mission, finds out his partner and best friend, Nordberg, unconscious and at the center of a conspiracy to assassinate Queen Elizabeth II. Can Frank save the Queen in time and clear his partner's name?
I don't remember the first time I saw this one because I actually watched the third Naked Gun constantly when I was younger. And we'll get into that more when we discuss the third one. But at some point, I guess, I decided I should go back and see the first two. So I probably just rented this sometime or caught it on TV finally.
Oddly enough, I did do the same thing. And we'll discuss it more as we get on later on the episode. But yeah, I have more memories of watching the third one than 1 and 2. But on this rewatch, I think I realized I've watched 1 maybe a little bit more than I initially had thought. A lot of the scenes were more familiar to me than I remember they would be. And the cool thing about these movies, and we've mentioned this with other comedies, as we see as I'm an adult, some jokes land differently, but with these kind of movies, I feel like I always catch something different because there's so much going on, whether the lines are quick or there's just so much background stuff happening that's hard to focus on one joke over the other, so you'll catch it different times at different viewings.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
I think I forgot to mention the actual first time I saw it, though. Probably VHS, and I'm pretty sure at my grandmother's house because they owned all 3 of them on VHS, I believe.
Okay.
So I think this was like after I've seen 33 and the third multiple times with my friends. I went back and like, oh, Grandma has these movies, and oh, they actually have the first one and two. I don't even know if I knew the third one was even a sequel at the time. I thought it was just a silly title, which it is, but we'll get into all that later.
Yeah, I agree. I think I actually might have had that experience as well. But you mentioned that, this title is from the files of Police Squad. So let's talk about Police Squad for a minute. The franchise actually started with a TV show called Police Squad that only lasted 6 episodes, parody of police procedurals, particularly a show called M Squad, which was an NBC show that aired for a couple of years. I had never heard of this, but our writing team, David Zucker, Jim Abrahams, and Jerry Zucker, also known as Zaz, they wrote a lot of comedies together, especially a lot of parody comedies. And David Zucker, I believe, is our director for this one,
Yes.
correct? Okay. So they had a lot of success writing and directing Airplane, which also was Leslie Nielsen's big break. They wanted to do another spoof comedy, decided, to do this police procedural spoof. Michael Eisner was the head of Paramount at the time. You might recognize that name as being more lately the head of Disney. He offered them a 6 episode TV deal instead of a movie deal. And the three of them did say they were kind of struggling to come up with a solid movie plot, but they said in interviews that as soon as they took the TV deal, they were like, wait, no, what are we doing? Like, we don't want to write TV shows. And it was also a half hour per episode. And they were like, no, we want to make a movie. Why do we do this? And when they tried to get out of it, Michael Eisner lied to them and said that ABC had already picked up the pilot. And so
Oh
they were
no.
stuck. Um, this was a lie, but I mean, apparently the show aired. I don't know if it was ABC specifically, but in this time, after their 6 episode TV deal ended, that sounds very bizarre to me anyway.
Yeah, it sounds more like like a mini series or a limited run now. That's what we'd call them.
Yeah, definitely. Because I would have an easier time believing it got canceled after 6 episodes versus this was their actual offer.
Right.
Obviously, if it was a hit, they would have given them more, but just a just a strange strange situation here. But so in the meantime, they went on to write and direct Top Secret and Ruthless People. I just wanted to point out Val Kilmer's film debut was Top Secret, just because we talked about Val.
Little throwback there. I love it.
They kept working on their script for Police Squad, and they found that adding a romantic interest kind of rounded the story out more, and they felt that was what the story was missing. So they presented this final draft of the script to Paramount, finally got it greenlit. We already mentioned that they preferred casting people that didn't usually do comedy. They wanted people who could, as they said it, play their roles straight against Leslie Nielsen. But then they also said one of the great things about the way Leslie Nielsen approached these movies was that he acted like he wasn't in a comedy. So I feel like that must have been kind of the direction they gave to all of their actors. Priscilla Presley specifically was very concerned about doing a comedy. I did not realize that she was in the TV show Dallas before this. I mean, I've
Hmm.
heard of Dallas. I've never seen it.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so I wouldn't know. And I kind of forgot she was an actress until I popped this movie on. I was like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, she's like the main actress in this movie. I forgot she acted at all.
Yeah, I actually did not realize she was an actress. Like I knew she was in these movies, but I thought, I don't know. They were like, "Here, let's stunt cast or something." I don't know.
You mean like
Um
OJ?
oh gosh. Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. So with Priscilla, the director, David Zucker, said that he was talking to her before a table read and she was really nervous because she's like, I've never done comedy. I don't know how to do it. And he said, just read your lines straight. Don't think of it as being in a comedy. Just let the lines do the comedy for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it works. I think
Oh yeah.
I'm actually really impressed with her in these movies, considering I think if you had taken the lines in a different direction, like it would have just fallen flat.
Yeah. So this is kind of what I'm talking about because I don't think that these exactly were bad actors and actresses. and I think that they had maybe a little lack of direction besides play it straight. Because if this was a serious movie, I feel like all these lines would fall flat. Just like it wouldn't be taken seriously. They would look like they're deadpanning or they can't act. But because they're in a
Mm-hmm.
comedy and it's all kind of revolving around Leslie Nielsen's character, I think for the most part, and it's weird because they're being told the same thing but differently. All the other actors are just say play it straight like it's not a comedy. Leslie Nielsen's pretending like he doesn't know he's in a comedy. And even though that's very similar, there's a big difference because Nielsen kind of often reacts to himself or others with this like kerfuffle confusion that
Mm-hmm.
is like the last punch of the joke in most of these lines,
Mm-hmm.
if any of that made sense.
No, I got you. OJ Simpson had acted previously too. I think some action movies, if I'm.
Yeah, I don't remember, and you can't tell.
Yeah, I do remember thinking like maybe there's a reason his roles were so small, even though he is kind of one of the main police officers, because, we see him more, we know his name. His part is still pretty small in every movie
Oh yeah,
because he's always getting hurt and like taken away.
yeah, he's like the best friend of the main character in this film, and the entire time he's unconscious.
Right. All I could really find about their decision to cast him in all their interviews, they kind of combined it with, well, why did we cast Priscilla Presley? We just wanted actors who didn't really do comedy. They weren't comedic actors. There's also an interview later that I found where they asked, I think it was David Zucker, what it was like to work with OJ, and he just talked about Leslie Nielsen,
Well,
which, to be fair to Zaz, our writing and directing team here, I mean, who would have known really what was coming with that? Like,
yeah,
and we'll get into it a little bit with the timing of the third movie's release, but I don't know. I just feel like talk about a PR nightmare. Your movie just got released and then this turns into like literally the trial of the century.
yeah,
I don't know. And it's also for me personally, it's like jarring to see him on screen because I grew up with OJ Simpson being like an accused murderer.
yeah, yep.
I'm pretty sure that he was already on trial by the time I saw the third movie for the first time. Like, I didn't know him as an actor. I definitely didn't know him as a football player.
Yeah, I figured probably by the time this movie came to VHS rental status, he was probably already on trial. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, for the third one
Um,
though.
right, right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was a little jarring the first time he pops up on screen, especially because he plays sort of a lovable idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, in my experience with him, even after the trial, like he wrote that stupid book about if I did it, and he just turned into such a weird tabloid staple. It's weird seeing him as this super nice guy in these movies.
It's called acting, I guess, because he's
It's
doing a
called
good job.
acting.
Yeah, I
I
don't know.
did,
It's weird, but they were all before it happened, I suppose. So I don't know.
yeah, I did look up his IMDb, and he was in some movies before this, most notably probably The Towering Inferno.
Okay.
So he did act.
Okay. I've only seen him in these movies.
Yeah, same. Okay. So, oh, I forgot to mention with the character of Jane, they originally wanted Bo Derek and she turned them down. Priscilla was their second choice, I guess.
Hmm.
George Kennedy, who is Ed, he's not. Nordberger is Leslie Nielsen's partner. What is Ed? Is he
He's
higher up?
Captain. Yeah.
Captain. That's what I thought. Okay. George Kennedy is an Oscar winner for Cool Hand Luke and was also lobbying really hard to be in this movie because he had apparently wanted to be in Airplane because Airplane was a spoof of the airport movies, which were action movies that George Kennedy was actually in. So he could have been spoofing himself in
Mm.
Airplane. The studio, for some reason, were pushing our team here to cast an Oscar winner in this movie. I don't know, to lend it some gravitas. It just seems like such a strange film to be like, throw an Oscar winner in there, make it a little more serious.
It's probably exactly what it is.
I guess, yeah. And also, I guess maybe you could argue if Leslie Nielsen, if he had just had his first big hit with Airplane, maybe they didn't think he was big enough to like sell this movie on his name alone. But they said it was just this wonderful coincidence that they had an Oscar winner in George Kennedy, who was really, really wanting to work with them because he was reportedly furious that he didn't get cast in Airplane.
You know, it's funny you're talking about this, and maybe because, or probably because I just seen all three of these movies, and it's been a long time since I've seen them or Airplane. But there's a specific scene in Airplane I'm thinking of, and I can't picture the other actor with Leslie Nielsen. I'm picturing Ed. No, it's clearly not right. But man, how like your perception changes when you're kind of looking back through things.
Yeah.
So, starting this film, there is an over the top opening scene that I don't really remember, which is probably good. It made it kind of funny for me. And it sets the mood for the film, how over the top silly it is. And what it basically is a roundtable discussion with a bunch of terrorists having a meeting to attack America. And our, I guess, hero, Frank, surprises them and beats them all up in a very ridiculous fashion. I think he's got a disguise on, and then he, very Mission Impossible Tom Cruise, reveals that it's Leslie Nielsen and just beats up all of these infamous anti-American terrorists, including like rubbing a birthmark off someone's head and all this like crazy stuff. There's like a Three Stooges fight scene with one of them, and it's very silly.
So when I had forgotten about this opening as well. When I was watching this, so these are actually parodies of various world leaders who were
Mm-hmm.
in power at the time. I'm going around the table and I'm like, why does that guy looks a lot like Gaddafi? This guy looks a lot like Gorbachev. Like, is this on purpose? And
Yeah,
then when, like you said, he rubs a birthmark off of Gorbachev and he knocks out Yasser Arafat and he has a name tag saying like, "Hello, my name is Yasser." I was like, okay, yes. So that was on purpose that they all looked like real world leaders. I did think it was so funny though when before Frank reveals it's him in disguise, he's serving them coffee probably, and he gets so angry because they're insulting America that his hand starts shaking while he's holding the coffee pot.
yeah,
And this sets up kind of spoofing current world leaders in every movie,
especially at the beginning.
especially at the beginning scenes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, it's been a really long time since I had seen this. I'd forgotten about this completely.
But it seems like every one of these films has a cold open before the credits where they do, like you said, some sort of current political figure is being mocked. And
Mhm.
unlike you, I also wasn't sure if I was supposed to recognize these people or if they were made up for the film. Like they look familiar, but just like this movie, I haven't seen or even thought about some of these other world leaders in 30 years. And like, okay, they're just generic like 80s bad guys, right? And then the
Yeah.
couple towards the end, I was like, oh, wait a minute. And then, yeah, the name tag, I'm like, okay, yep, I got to go back through my history, but I should know all of these people.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think like all of them in real life are dead at this point. So it's not like we've really thought about them.
I
At
guess
the
a good point,
time,
yeah.
I assume
Yeah.
they were in the news a lot. It's funny though because we have movies like this and like Tiny Toons that they're parroting like current events at the time. And it's funny what ends up holding up and what doesn't because sometimes it's a very niche thing like in Tiny Toons, Roseanne singing the national anthem that like I don't know, my mind doesn't go there immediately because it's been so long.
Right.
So,
Hmm.
but yeah, like, because like you said, we weren't sure if we were supposed to recognize these people.
Yeah. So after that, we get the classic sequence for the credits, which I somehow almost forgot. The second I saw the little bubble light, it instantly
Hmm.
brought me back. But if you're not familiar with this, it's basically a POV shot of like the hood of the police squad car, I guess, and it's a little bubble light, and it basically like goes around town while the names appear on the screen, doing random funny things. Where basically a car shouldn't be, i.e., a woman's locker room, on a roller coaster, etc.
Hmm. Yeah, the credits sequence is a lot of fun in every movie, I think. I did think it was funny that they go all these places just end up at a donut shop at the end,
Of course.
like you do. This is actually one part I remembered. I like the car going on the roller coaster personally. That's my favorite.
That was my favorite for no this one. Yeah.
Yeah. Is this where we come to the opening with like OJ Simpson's character staking out this boat? Okay. So, like I said, kind of jarring to see him. Okay, so Jerry Zucker, who is one of the co-writers, when the DVD of this movie came out and they were still doing DVD commentaries, Jerry Zucker apparently said about this scene, okay, here's OJ planning his murder.
Oh, like I mean, it's funny because I like all sorts of comedy, but to say that in a DVD commentary to your own movie is a little risque, I
Yeah.
guess. But
Yeah, I guess I don't know if I would want to draw attention to it if I was them. It's
yeah.
one of those things where, you know, you can't fault the three of them, like who would have known, right?
hmm
But I can't help thinking like this would be such a black mark on, you know, these projects I made. Like I don't think I'd want to draw attention to it further. But maybe he felt like putting it out there was better. But then
Yeah.
like you said on a recorded commentary that can live forever.
hmm Like
Yeah.
if someone else watched the movie and talked about it like a comedian and made that joke, it'd probably be hilarious. Like
Hmm.
after the
Or
fact,
like
like
on a
okay, yep,
post or
he's
something.
yeah, he's talking about it, something that happened, and he's poking fun at OJ. Sure, but to do it to your own film, I guess maybe to your point, it's trying to get ahead of it, but it just I don't know. I have to hear it. Reading it is different, I guess, but I would have
Yeah.
maybe just left that one alone.
Yeah, I feel like I would not have touched that. But it's probably a weird thing for them to come to terms with that like this person you worked with pretty closely ended up like doing this horrible thing. And then
hmm
again, not only was he accused of a really horrible crime, it became like the crime, the trial.
Yeah,
Like it was just huge. Um I really don't think I can emphasize that enough. Like, I literally remember watching the verdict in school. Like, they wheeled out the TV so none of the teachers would miss the verdict being read.
yeah,
And I was, what, probably in elementary school? Seems like a, just, you know, slightly inappropriate looking back at
yeah,
it.
yeah. I remember watching whatever we were watching that night, maybe TGIF. I don't even know, but everything, every channel cutting to the Bronco chase.
Yep. See, I remember hearing more about it after the fact, but you know, because I was a kid, it's not like I was following this trial, right? But I specifically remember like going home that day asking my parents questions about it because we watched the verdict in school. And I don't know how I would feel if, I don't know, my kid's school day was interrupted to watch the verdict in a murder trial, especially because like I'm, it's not like my kid watches the news.
Right.
And also, it's not like I've really explained murder to my child. Like, I don't know. There are just things that I feel I don't know. It's I'm not saying like, oh, I was scandalized or emotionally harmed by watching this. It's just a weird decision looking back at it, I think. Oh, I did want to point out that the actress who plays Queen Elizabeth in this movie did say that OJ was very rude on set and she didn't like working with him. But she said that Leslie Nielsen and Priscilla Presley were charming, in her words. I really
Hmm.
liked this whole scene, though. Like, I was dying at him listening in, and these people are like, this completes our first shipment of heroin. Like, it's
Yeah.
very off. They're giving you all the details. There's no like coded messages.
No. I like when he
Uh,
tries to bust in and just his foot goes through the door
mhm.
and there's like 15 guys with guns. He's like, put your guns down, it's the police. And like the one guy does, and everyone kind of looks at him like, pick your gun back up.
Yeah, come on, you idiot.
Yeah.
No, I was laughing so hard at this whole sequence. my son kept coming in to see what I was laughing at, and obviously, if I could show him, like, a little bit of a joke, he'd think it was funny, but a lot of the times, I'd have to, like, explain too much about why this thing was funny, and he'd be like, okay," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, because 'cause you're not watching the movie, you don't get it."
Right.
But,
Yeah, it's a lot of like setup and payoffs that if you're not paying attention, you're definitely gonna not laugh at it.
keeping in this, when he ends up in the hospital and Frank and Ed, I think, go to visit him, and his wife is there sobbing, they say something about, like, he'll be allowed back on the police force when he's, good at like, when he's back up and healthy, and then Frank says, "Unless he's a drooling vegetable," but I think that's just common sense.
Yeah.
His wife is so distressed, she's, like, wailing.
Yeah. Ed's trying to like smooth things over and make it seem not as bad. And Nielsen's just like, oh no, he's probably fucked. And he just keeps like
Mhm.
hammering it in. She's crying louder and louder each time. And Frank can't seem to catch what Ed is doing.
Yeah, no. Well, because even isn't this the part where, um, Nordberg's, like, moaning about different things that are related to the stakeout, and Frank thinks he's just being serious, like, he needs heroin for his
Yeah.
pain, not like
Yeah.
he was on a heroin bust.
Yeah. I want to know why no one knew he was there. Like, they just, like they find heroin on his person, I guess, from being at the one man bust, I guess, on a dock.
Yeah.
And so they think he had something to do with it, even though he's clearly an officer. Yeah, but like, how come no one knew he was assigned to this? This part doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I was confused about that too, like, isn't there some record of him going out on this stakeout? But I guess I don't know, they're just bad cops. They're really bad at their job all the time.
That's a good point too. Yeah,
That's my explanation.
yeah.
You had mentioned too the chalk outlines floating in the water.
Oh man, yeah. I cracked up at that. They, I don't even who died. Doesn't matter
Yeah, that's true.
because Norberg is in the hospital.
Yeah.
But anyway, they go to the scene, Ed and Frank, and of course they run somebody off the dock because Frank's driving. Point out, I don't know if we mentioned this yet, that so the beginning sequence with the car all over the place and random
Mhm.
spots, bad driving. I don't know if we're supposed to assume this is Frank or not, but like Frank's a terrible driver, and throughout all three movies, this running gag is he like just he's almost like a Mr. Magoo, which is kind of funny because I think he voiced that character later.
He played Mr. Magoo, I thought, in like a live action
That's right. Thank you. Yes.
version. Yeah.
Yes. Of course. Of course he did. Of course he did.
Yeah, of
But
course he
yeah,
did.
he can't drive. He hits everything in his path, including a fisherman. But there is a chalk outline floating on the water where someone was murdered, and that made me crack up so hard.
We'll see the chalk outline gag repeated in the
Yeah. A
future.
couple of cameos here, or maybe not. They're cameos to me now, but I don't know if they were all of them were then. One definite cameo is when Frank returns from this cold open mission, and he thinks all this cheers and adulation for him, but really it's for Weird Al Yankovic getting off the plane. And I would
Yeah.
be upset with myself if I didn't give a Weird Al Yankovic shout out.
Yeah.
Very much like Nielsen kind of being the prince of parodies for these movies. Weird Al to me was the same for music.
Mhm.
This movie came out in '88. Weird Al has UHF that comes out the following year, which I watched a lot of
Mm.
that as well. Another movie in this kind of style.
I haven't seen that.
Ooh, it's
Maybe we'll have to discuss it.
yeah, it's about the same. It's just this. I mean, not the plot, but style.
I just wanted to point out that apparently Weird Al was a big fan of Airplane and Top Secret, their
Mm-hmm.
previous movie, Zaz's previous movies. And he was also friends with one of the producers, so that's how he got this cameo.
Nice. Yeah, at '88 too. He was pretty big at the time. I thought it was fun for me that the mayor. that's constantly yelling at Frank because Frank's an idiot. She looked really familiar to me. I was like, how do I know this lady? Besides the fact that I watched this movie 30 years ago, and luckily I have IMDb on my cell phone, and I was like, oh my god, it's Tony Soprano's mom from The Sopranos, which I've never seen before until like right now. The wife and I are getting through it. I think I might have mentioned this already on the podcast, but it's a good show. I'm a
I'm
little
like
late to.
striking out left and right this time.
Well, to be fair, I'm a little late to a lot of the HBO shows, as we never had them growing up, so catching up is fun.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch The Wire if you haven't. That was fantastic.
That's something I've been meaning to watch for
Yeah.
ages, and I just still haven't.
Back on the dock, though, Frank is trying to get some information of what happened in Norberg, because, again, he's the only one that thinks he's innocent. I don't know why everyone's against him. Again, cop going to a drug raid. Why is this not on the books?
Yeah.
But he goes to a dock worker, and he's trying to bribe him for information. And it seems kind of like a back and forth. They're bribing each other for info with the same, I think, $20 bill.
Yeah.
Somehow Frank is the one that's getting bribed from the dock worker for the dock worker to give him info and also pay for it. It's a weird back and forth. Eventually, though, Frank gets info and his money back.
Yeah, and when the dock worker is like, "Can you spot me a 20?" and he gives him back the bribe.
He gives him the bribe to give to the dock worker to give back to Frank. Yeah, that was probably the best part. Yeah, I definitely remember this line a little later in the film when Frank meets Ludwig, our soon-to-be revealed bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's offering him a fancy box of cigars, and he just goes Cuban, and in a like true Leslie Nielsen delivery, no, Dutch Irish. My father was from Wales, and then just moves on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I love it so much.
No, I love this whole scene when we're introduced to Ludwig. He's, in this fancy office, and he has the Japanese fighting fish that Leslie Nielsen, I feel like he drops a pen or something into it. I can't remember what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, he had a fancy,
It's like a fancy pen. Mm-hmm.
and then he somehow flings it on accident into the fish tank, of course.
Right. And this whole sequence where he's trying to retrieve it while the villain's back is turned, and then like accidentally ends up stabbing one of the Japanese fighting fish with a pen. He's trying to hide it. Like, it sounds so silly when I describe it, but it was so funny.
I mean, it is so silly, which is why it was funny.
Yeah. But this is also where we're introduced to Jane, which is Priscilla Presley's character. Very classic film noir entrance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's like in the shadows, but only her eyes have light on them.
Gotta get that kicker light.
Yeah. Right in the eyeballs.
I think this is where she ends up going to help him retrieve some files. And she's up on a ladder, and he says, "Nice beaver." And she like hands him a stuffed beaver. Apparently, according to the writers, that was their favorite line they came up with for the whole first movie. And they said they laughed at it for like a day and a half.
Huh. I mean, it's funny, I suppose. Like I chuckled knowing what was going to happen, and it's one of those you see this in years to come with other spoof movies where someone says something and then it's not what you think it is, the little double entendre. But I wouldn't think it's the funniest one in the movie.
I laughed only because you don't expect there to be a stuffed beaver in this office building. But yeah, they were really proud of themselves for that one. That's all.
That's all. Oh boy.
Speaking of Frank's bad driving, what does he do? He like parks poorly at the police station, hits something, and he inflates all his airbags and like just leaves.
Yeah, well, he struggles to get out of the car, and then the car is probably not in park and starts rolling down the hill, like causing more chaos. And he's like, "Someone stop that vehicle!" And it's like running over people, and he's asking, "Did anyone get the license plate number?" And forgetting it's his own damn car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of bad driving, we end up with this scene where Frank is trying to follow one of the bad guys and he jumps into a car and does the classic, like, follow that car. And it turns out it's a girl learning how to drive.
Oh yeah. Well, because his car
I,
just ran away.
right. I loved this whole scene. Poor Stephanie, who's
Mm-hmm.
just learning how to drive, eventually, gets into it and is
Yeah,
like
Stephanie's a true G.
badass. Like, yeah. I love how calm her driving instructor is. He is just so zen. He's like so not affected by anything that's happening around him. Just, turn left. Okay. Put the car in reverse. But like, just, it's a great scene all around.
I was laughing the whole time because it's just at first Frank obviously has a sense of urgency, and this girl is nervous. She's driving. Who knows for what time? Third,
Yeah,
fourth. Who
yeah.
knows? And so she's being very timid, and like you said, the instructor the whole time is just like instructing her, even when chaos is happening. And towards the end of it, she gets like really into it. There's a where it changes, where she goes timid to into it. Frank's in the back seat, obviously, and he rolls down the window and leans out with the gun to shoot. And she's like in the front, and she looks over at the gun. And she like slowly rolls up her window as if that's gonna change anything.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny. I really like the montage of Frank and Jane dating, and you think they're doing all these things together, and then it turns out they've been dating for a day.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
That was a very long day, which kind of talking about it now kind of reminds me a little bit of Groundhog Day, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
But they're coming out of a movie theater, cracking up in each other's arms. Obviously, we're meant to think it was maybe a rom com or just definitely a comedy movie. And as they're walking toward the camera, it pulls back, and they came out of Platoon,
Yeah, I
which
thought
is
that was
a
great.
war movie if you're not familiar.
Yeah. I have a question for you because you noted this scene where Frank and I think Ed are eating the red pistachios.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what this is. Like,
Are you not my age? Are you what? Okay, so the scene in question is another stakeout, I believe, and they're just eating snacks, and they're eating. Frank's eating pistachios, and in the '80s, for whatever reason, they, for marketing purposes, I'm assuming, dyed pistachios red. They were bright red, the color of like ruby red lipstick,
yeah.
and they turned everyone's hands red, their mouth red. That was like a huge thing. If you liked pistachios in the '80s, you ate them. Everything was dyed red, and I don't
That's
remember
bizarre.
why. And I honestly forgot about pistachios being red. Every once in a while, I'll like remember and like, oh yeah, I remember being at grandma's house, and everyone's eating these red nuts that were so weird. It was a big thing, and then that someone years later was like, "Hey, you know what we should do with pistachios? Not fucking dye them red, because that was a weird thing, right?"
It, yes, this is so bizarre.
Yeah,
It sounds like something they would make up for these movies. I can't
no, it
believe
was real.
yeah, I never encountered this, I guess. I do remember my grandparents having like mixed nuts and like a
Mm.
legit like nutcracker.
Oh yeah, that was a big thing in the
Um,
'80s too.
yeah, but never these dyed pistachios. That's so weird.
Yeah, they were separate. There was the mixed nut thing, and then there was red pistachios,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's basically like if you eat a bunch of Cheetos or Doritos, you would turn your
Yeah.
fingers orange, but it was pistachios, and they were just dyed red. The fact that I saw this in the movie, I was like, oh my god, if this doesn't like trigger nostalgia, I don't know what will. Didn't work for
Fine, I
you.
guess.
Yeah, it didn't work
Yeah.
for you, so fuck it, I guess.
I feel like I want to go call my parents about this later. Like,
Yeah, ask. I
it's
feel like you should ask your dad. I don't know why specifically your dad, but
okay, will do. I'll report back. I love this part where is it Frank that's leaving the police force? And he says, just think the next time I shoot someone, I could be arrested.
yeah, yeah. I forget why though.
Yeah, well, there's like, I feel like in every movie there's talk about Frank leaving the police force.
Oh, the mayor's up their ass, and she
Mm.
yells at him, and I think he's like not allowed to be a part of this police tack to find the sleeper cell agent. Is basically what's happening here.
Oh,
Our bad guy Ludwig, he shows off that he could kind of reprogram people and trigger them to become assassins. So the threat is that anybody can be an assassin.
Mm-hmm.
And then that leads us to our baseball game while the Queen of England is visiting, because I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
she loves baseball, right?
Right.
So he's undercover, but also technically not supposed to be there. So I think that's,
Mm,
yeah. I feel like
that's right.
every movie he's doing something he's not supposed to be doing, but ends up saving the day, albeit probably an accident.
Ends up at a public place he's not supposed to be at. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about, Queen Elizabeth. Well, okay, first, let's talk about the mind control thing because when Ludwig first demonstrates this, that he can turn anyone into kind of a robotic assassin, he demonstrates it on his secretary, I
Mm-hmm.
think, who's like an older woman. She is David and Jerry Zucker's mom.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so speaking of cameos, I just thought that was cute. Yeah, let's talk about this baseball game. In one of the interviews I read, the interviewer asked if they got permission from the palace to use Queen Elizabeth II's likeness, and they were like, no, because they would have said no. Uh, but
This is true.
they heard, I guess, through the grapevine years later that um, the royals actually did like Airplane a lot. It was supposedly one of Prince Philip's favorite movies.
Nice.
So go figure. Zaz, our writing production team, requested to use the Milwaukee Brewers name because they're all from Milwaukee originally.
Okay.
They asked MLB because that's what you have to do, go through the proper channels, and Major League Baseball refused. But they said they could use the Mariners because they were a weak franchise at the time and they wanted to promote them.
It's all about business, baby.
Yep. The LA Dodgers, I think originally were okay with their name being used, but then they backed out because of the fight scene where everyone like clears out of the dugout to like everyone's fighting.
Yeah.
They still wanted to use a name that had some connotation to LA, so that's how they ended up using the Angels.
So they wanted to use the Brewers because they're from Milwaukee. And then like, well, we want something from LA, so we'll do the Angels. What if they
Because
got okay?
it's
Was it set in LA? Yes.
yeah. Hmm.
But what if the Brewers okayed it? Would they? I guess maybe they can use an
I
opposing
think they
team,
would have
right?
been Brewers versus Angels, I think was
Okay,
the
I think I
idea.
overthought that one, like
That's
we do for
okay.
most of these movies.
That's all
Yeah,
right.
everything that leads up before the triggering in the seventh inning stretch is so ridiculous, but I love it. Like, there's the umps are fighting each other, so and we see this joke repeated too. Frank gets into something he's not supposed to be in by kind of taking over the presumed identity of a less maybe famous person or someone he might look like.
Hmm. Yeah.
In this case, it is an Italian opera singer, Enrique Palazzo.
Yep.
And so he just like goes in his locker room, and when I think he like, we don't see him, but he probably like knocks him out or whatever. You had mentioned Roseanne and Tiny Toons like
Yeah.
butchering the
Gotcha.
national anthem. Now it's hard not to think of that with
Yeah.
Leslie Nielsen. He's obviously not an Italian opera singer, and he's doing a really bad job.
And he like doesn't even know the lyrics.
Yeah, I think he starts humming some of them.
I was dying when the security is coming to get him, but then he's still singing the anthem, so they like stand at attention like you would for the anthem, but they're just inching toward him.
Yeah. After he's Palazzo, I forget how, but he becomes the home plate umpire,
Hmm. Yes.
and a bunch of silly things happen, including a rundown of a player between first and second, and somehow ends up being like the coaches and the umpires like tagging. I think an ump tags another ump out. Something ridiculous happens. Frank keeps
Yeah.
calling balls and strikes as his will, because the whole idea is they found out that during the seventh inning stretch, that's when the assassination attempt was going to happen. So
Hmm.
he's just doing all the anti-baseball things he can possibly do to make the game not go to the seventh inning.
Yeah.
And it just was just silly and ridiculous. At one point, he's like dancing around home plate,
Yeah.
like he dust busts it because you're supposed to keep it
Hmm.
clean. Little silly things like that
Yeah.
that I found really fun.
But yeah, I loved when he brings out like the bigger and bigger vacuums and he just ends up using like a regular upright.
Yeah. So unfortunately, it becomes a seventh inning stretch, and Ludwig does his remote whatever thing. So Frank's trying to figure out who the assassin is by patting down every player that comes to the plate. Somehow they
Hmm.
miss Reggie Jackson. He turns into the killer during the
Yep.
seventh inning stretch. And I find it like, again, maybe because he's a non actor, but he was just like so literal stiff and robotic. Like he was doing a dance move and he's like coming all the way from like outfield to the stands and like no one
Hmm.
notices for a while.
Yeah.
When they do, Frank removes the mask and all the umpire garb, and he was just also, a singer.
Hmm. Yeah.
And someone in the audience yells, "Hey, it's Enrique Palazzo!" And like that guy looks really fucking familiar. Quick search. Oh my god, we've seen this character in another baseball related movie. It is the actor who played Older Stillwell from A League of Their Own.
Yeah, I did not catch that at all. That's so funny. I had a few notes on this scene. Apparently, there was supposed to be a bit where Ludwig shoots Frank and hits the umpire, like the chest protection,
Mm-hmm.
and it just deflates instead of like hurting him. But they cut it because they were worried people would think that the umpire gear was actually bulletproof or something in real
Oh
life.
god, good call. Jesus.
Apparently, when Queen Elizabeth II did pass away in real life, Reggie Jackson tweeted something like, "See, I was innocent, I told you." And then
That's how
wrote
you play
like,
the long joke.
I know, and then was like RIP Queen.
Oh my god. I didn't
I
know that.
thought,
That's fantastic.
yeah, and it's so funny thinking like if you had never seen this movie from the late 80s, because she didn't die until like 2023, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
And you'd be like, why is Reggie Jackson like, was he, did someone think he was involved? What's going
Oh my god.
on?
Another silly moment when all the chaos is happening and they're trying to stop Reggie from assassinating the queen. Ludwig is taking Jane as hostage and running up the stadium steps.
Hmm.
And it's very obvious that it went from Priscilla Presley to an inflatable doll
Yeah.
because he's like jostling her up so aggressively and her hair is flying everywhere and like it's not meant to look real, obviously, and that's
Yeah.
what's so funny is
Yes.
how aggressive he's handling her because she's a doll.
Yes.
And I was laughing too hard at that.
Yeah, I thought that was really good too. So we end this movie though with Ludwig like flipping over the edge of the stadium and like falling to his death, but also then he gets, run over by a bunch of different things. Lots of people flipping over edges in these movies in general.
Yeah, apparently falling to your death is funny. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the way they seem to get rid of a lot of people in these.
Yeah.
Just
Uh,
it's something you definitely notice watching them all back to back.
yes, of course. Yes.
So Naked Gun, the first one, was well received both critically and at the box office. Usually finds itself on lists of greatest comedies. Definitely a big hit. That's why we get a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was so much funnier than I expected. I think because we've mentioned as a kid I just watched the third one all the time. I was expecting to just have that one still be my favorite, and I was laughing so hard at this, like definitely more than I expected.
I would agree 100%. I
Hmm.
realized watching this, and I think I've touched on it a little earlier, that
Hmm.
I definitely remember more than I thought I would have, considering I do remember watching the third one more.
Hmm.
And I did find this one overall probably the funniest, and we'll talk about
Hmm.
that why later.
Yeah.
But I mean, the timing, everything was great. The jokes landed, sight gags landed. I
Hmm.
do think there is I don't know if you want to call it evolution or de-evolution of these movies, depending on your style of comedy. But you can kind of tell you've got the four main people, Nielsen and Zaz.
Hmm.
And as we start losing people,
Hmm.
the comedy kind of sways from a lot of there's a lot more smart lines here that you have to pay
Yes.
attention to, like that Cuban line. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
dumb, it's silly, but like it's done well. And you get more physical comedy as we get to 2 and 3, where there might be still some in the first one, but not as much comparatively. And I think that might change why I used to like 3 more than 1, going
Mm-hmm.
from 11 to 39 of age. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
No,
definitely enjoyed
I
this one the most on this rewatch and thought it was pretty damn funny.
yeah, but that's a good observation that some of the jokes are so clever, and if you're not listening, you might not catch it because
Hmm.
there's clever wordplay. It's not just the sight gags.
Yeah,
All right. Do you want me to introduce our next one?
do it up.
All right. Next movie in the franchise, The Naked Gun, Two and a Half, The Smell of Fear, directed by David Zucker, released June 28th, 1991, rated PG-13. All right, if you have not seen this one, Frank is back, and this time the police squad is on the case of a kidnapping of a powerful scientist who is an advocate for clean energy. However, the man behind the kidnapping is the current boyfriend of Frank's ex, Jane. Can Frank save Dr. Meinheimer and win back Jane? So yeah, for me, similar to the first Naked Gun, first time seeing it was whenever I decided to go back and watch the first two. Like I said, rented it probably.
Hmm. Same for my Naked Gun 1. I'm pretty confident I saw it at Grandma's because, as I mentioned, they owned the trilogy on VHS.
So David Zucker returns as our director and screenwriter. We lose Jim Abrahams and Jerry Zucker in terms of co-writers, but they do serve as executive producers for the film. They do have a writing credit, but it's from contributions to the first one, like developing the characters. That's really it. They had a big hit, so they decided to do another one. Easy to get things greenlit when you make the studio a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah.
So, since Abrams and Zucker, comma Jerry, are still involved but not writers, is it
Mhm.
still Zaz or is it just Z?
I don't know. We can
Hmm.
maybe it's just David Zucker.
We kind of will see with the one writer versus the 3 of them combined where the jokes start to shift a little bit.
Yes, I agree.
Some still hold up, some are very good, some are.
Right.
Yeah.
We get another opening parroting current world leaders, this time George and Barbara Bush.
Hmm.
For some reason, Frank is at this like state dinner kind of thing. He's being honored for catching the most drug dealers or shooting the most drug dealers. Is that it?
I think he's getting honored for the 1,000th drug dealer killed. And his
Hmm.
response was, in all honesty, I backed up the last 2 with my car.
Yeah, that he was like, it's a good thing they turned out to be drug
Right. Yes. Yeah.
dealers.
I don't know if this gag happened in the first one. I don't. We didn't talk about it. I don't remember seeing it. But from this movie, from 2 and 3, there's a lot of Frank ill-timingly opening up a door and smashing somebody in the face, and he does this
Okay.
to Barbara Bush
Yes.
in this opening sequence.
Yeah, he like accidentally beats up Barbara Bush, like you said, hitting her. He ends up like taking her chair away without realizing she's about to sit down. But
Hmm.
the Secret Service keeps saying "Gray Lady down," and I just thought that was so mean. Like that's her name.
Right. When they go to help her up too, she like hits her head not once but twice on the table on the way up because like everyone's trying to like handle her, and it's just
Hmm.
this little old first lady getting beat up. Why is that funny? I don't know, but I laughed.
Yeah. I feel like the big scheme of this one, like this Dr. Meinheimer, who's like into more environmentalism, clean energy, kind of him set up against the, I don't know, Muppet villain fossil fuel company
Yeah.
owners. Yeah. This was like the hardest one for me to follow in terms of there just being like so many people. And that, like, I get the overall idea. They kidnap this doctor so that he can't recommend the move away from fossil fuels.
Hmm.
But it was just there are all these industry leaders and they all look the same, and then they
Hmm.
have like this guy impersonating the kidnapped Dr. Meinheimer. It's like too many people.
Yeah. They're at the summit still, and they're getting a lobster dinner, and Frank, for some reason, steals one from the center plate. I don't know if that's supposed to be the president's. Doesn't matter.
I
He's
feel
the
like
only
that
one
was a
eating.
centerpiece.
Yeah, he's eating it though. I don't know. It was
Okay.
weird, but he's like distracting people. Meanwhile, this guy's going on and on about all these leaders of industries, and their acronyms are really dumb. I'm not going to remember or look up or read what they are, but we'll just say that they're spill, smoke, and kaboom. And
Yeah.
that is oil, coal, and nuclear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually reading a book right now. Um, it's called Murderland, but it's basically its whole premise is that there may have been so many serial killers out of the Pacific Northwest because of how horrible the arsenic pollution was. Arsenic led other pollution from like smelters.
Oh my.
And then she spends a lot of the book tracking other serial killers, realizing they also grew up around smelters that rain down pollution in like other areas of the country, but Tacoma specifically was like really bad. They couldn't grow crops for 100 years. Their pets would
Jesus.
die. Yeah, and the kids all had like really high arsenic levels when they would actually test them. But so this is all I could think of with these, because I'm not done with the book yet, but it's just seeing these like evil heads of industry or whatever making sure they could keep polluting. I mean, that's literally what's happening in this book I'm reading, and it's nonfiction. So,
Right. That's
um,
crazy.
yeah, it's. I have learned a lot, less about serial killers, more about chemistry, I guess. But it's been very interesting. We find out that Frank and Jane have broken up, and I can't remember what the reason was this time. But probably Frank doesn't want to stop being a cop, like the usual.
Yes, that I think that kind of comes back a couple
Yeah.
times.
I was kind of sad about this. They were
Yeah,
just so cute
because
together.
yeah, and we get like the courtship and whatnot in the first movie, and they're together at the end. Which also Jane very briefly was a robotic assassin killer. Forgot to mention that. Not important, but he wins her over
Not
with his
important.
love.
Yeah,
He
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like willingly makes her stop being an assassin by telling her how much he cares for her.
Yes.
So then when we jump ahead to this movie, yes, it's sad because the power of love prevented a murder, and now they're just not together.
Yeah, again, things that like hit different when you're watching them back to back because you're like, you were just together. What's up,
Mm-hmm.
guys?
Yeah.
I laughed so hard though at this scene where they meet up at a bar, and it's very much a Casablanca spoof where they're sitting and the piano player knows them and they're like, play our song. And it's
And he goes, "Don't we're just dead." Yeah, that was great. It's like, no, our other song.
like, it's not even the that's the song. It's like the way.
It's everything. We'll take a break as Rachel collects herself.
It's just so shrill.
um,
Okay. Gotta have one instance every episode. I'm good.
but yes, that was great. It another tally in my list of movies we review on the pod that reference Wizard of Oz,
Yeah.
obviously.
Every movie, everywhere, all the time.
But yeah, they aren't actually meeting there. She's there to like help Frank because they're like he's mad at her because they broke up.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that lead up to this joke that's hilarious, though. I want to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
He comes in and he asks for like what's the strongest thing on the menu, and like a muscular shirtless guy comes out and flexes. He goes, "I'll take the second strongest thing," and they bring him like a it's supposed to be a black Russian, but the drink they give him is just a crazy wacky thing
Like
that
a fruity
doesn't look
cocktail
anything
looking
like a
thing.
drink at all. There's more toys and gadgets in it than anything.
Yeah.
Um, he also walks
Um,
away and he's not wearing pants, and you like he's just full, just from the waist down, no pants, just the apron.
yeah.
Which,
I did not realize that at first.
yeah, well, that's what's the good thing about this movie. Not men's butts, but that there's a lot of like sight gags that happen in the background, and you really aren't supposed to be paying attention to them. So if you catch them, good on you. But like our attention is Ed and Frank talking about the case at the table, and he is like already way in the background. He just turns around like, oh my god, he's not wearing pants.
Yeah. And he and Ed are having that conversation about like love and the women in their lives. And I swear that in the first movie, Ed's wife was named Ethel, and now she's Edna. I did not go back to look this up, but
Hmm. I don't know.
it's okay. Just remain a mystery. It's fine. Move on.
That's fine. Moving on.
Moving on. Harking back to our like goofy chalk outlines, there's a scene where a bomb detonates, and when they're investigating it after the fact, you notice in the background there are chalk outlines like high up on the walls and on the ceiling and stuff, like as if the bodies just flew up there and
And
like stuck up there.
stuck up there. There's
Yeah.
the one going down the steps that just like slinked down there. There's a very bad stick figure, as well as
Was it the stick figure from Jaws?
oh, it could have been, yeah. No shark though, just the
Yeah.
man, and like a really detailed like Egyptian kind of tomb looking one,
Yeah.
which was odd but funny.
Mm-hmm.
After dinner, and Frank and Jane are kind of talking a little bit about the case because she has some insider information on it because she's surprised working for the bad guy again.
Well, she's
Um,
dating the bad
she's
guy.
yeah, sorry, surprised she's
Yeah.
dating the
She
bad
doesn't
guy.
know it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
so similar to the first movie, but different relationship. But they're describing the person that left the bomb at the scene. Jane says, "White guy, mustache, 6'3". That's an awfully big mustache." Just one of those lines again is like, oh, okay, that was dumb but funny.
Mm-hmm. Because then you're imagining it like a
Yes.
Yosemite Sam
Yeah.
looking thing.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
Like, not 6'3". I wasn't thinking height. I was thinking definitely like across. Like you said,
Ah.
Yosemite Sam. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then is this when her boyfriend like meets Frank and Frank's tried not to
Oh,
seem threatened or
jealous.
upset? Yeah.
Yeah. They're kind of peacocking a little bit, and she tells
Mm-hmm.
them to like, okay, everyone be adults. We're all gonna be adults here. We're gonna work on this together. And Frank's like, I'm sure we can handle the situation like adults. Isn't that right, Mr. Poopy Pants? I died laughing. I don't know why.
I really think it's the way he delivers these lines because he just says it like he really does say everything really straight laced, like, and it's also this grown man being ridiculous. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It, I think it works. A big part of why it works is Leslie Nielsen.
Oh, 100%.
Mhm.
Speaking of grown man, I don't know if we mentioned Leslie Nielsen was 62 in the first film.
Okay.
And I just remember thinking that in the very opening sequence when he's beating up everybody, it's very clear he's not an action hero, obviously. And
Right.
it's like, wow, because I like Steve Martin. I've always known him just having white hair. He whited early. He's had it
Yeah. Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
But when you're 10, you think everyone with white hair is old or whatever. And so I
Yes.
looked it up. He was 62 in the first one, so obviously he's 65 in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Also wanted to point out though, Priscilla is clearly 20 years younger than he is. That's kind of
Yeah.
awkward sometimes.
Yeah. It seems to be how you do things, though.
Yeah.
So the good scientist, I guess, Dr. Meinheimer. This is who Jane is working for, right? This is her new boss. Jane's like an environmentalist in this movie.
Meinheimer, I think, works for her current boyfriend. Oh, no, her current boyfriend wants to kidnap Meinheimer.
Yeah, unbeknownst to Jane.
Yes, she works for Meinheimer. Which, did I mention he is Uncle Vernon from Harry Potter?
No, I've
Yeah.
never seen Harry Potter, any of them.
That surprised me for some reason. I don't know why.
Just striking out left and right.
You're like 0 for 3.
I know. Never
You're
read
out.
any of the books either. Come at me, bro.
I haven't read them either.
I need to point this out to you. The like fake Dr. Meinheimer they bring in to impersonate him, because their whole plan is that, instead of reading the real report where they're like, your industries are bad and polluting the earth, they're going to bring in a fake Dr. Meinheimer to like, I don't know, say everything's okay and like keep on with their profits and pollution. When he like takes off his disguise, he looks like Big Ed from 90 Day Fiance. And I need you, I'm going to show you a picture because I need you to understand.
You do know it's the same actor, though, right?
No, I didn't.
He plays both roles.
Okay, fine. But The fake one has like this long
Yeah.
brown hair, and like he's very like stout, and Big Ed in 90 Day Fiance has like no neck. Um no, I'm serious. He has like a condition where he doesn't really have a neck.
Oh God, I
Um
laughed. I didn't know.
no, it's okay. Well, here. And he also like grew his hair out, so he looks like disgusting now.
Oh my God. Okay.
Hold
All
on, I
right.
gotta find a picture with the long hair.
So you haven't seen any of these movies I referenced, and I haven't seen any of these garbage TV shows.
Agree with me. Doesn't it look like him?
Yes, that's why I'm laughing. Oh, for fuck's sake.
I have more reality TV show connections to come.
No. I promise I haven't seen any of them.
That's fine. I don't care. Okay.
So yeah, Dr. Meinheimer turns into Big Ed from 90 Day Fiance. That's great. Everything's fine. He does like a weird, like kind of sultry look at the other doctors too. It's very weird.
When he like takes off his mask and
Yeah.
like reveals his long hair, he's like shaking it out.
Well, he like this like weird like snaky tongue thing that it made me uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Back at police squad headquarters, I believe, they're trying to figure out where the bomber came from, where he's hiding out, and they read the address, and I don't remember the address, but Frank says that's the red light district. I wonder why. I think it was Savage is hanging out there. So then Ed's retort is sex, Frank. No, not right now, Ed. We got to go to work. Leslie Nielsen does a lot of like when he's doing these serious lines in a comedic way. He's not supposed to be funny though, or however the director told him to do it. I notice he does this thing with his eyes. He's always like looking back and forth. Like he's the only one that either gets he's in the movie or doesn't get that he's in the movie. And it's
Yeah.
like part of his like pause.
Yeah, like he's always wondering why everyone else around him is acting like this.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to point out there's some fundraiser where they, have the fake doctor or whatever. The prize is a trip to the Gilligan Islands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was pretty good. At this fundraiser, it's like a black tie affair, and Frank walks in, and the doorman offers to take Frank's jacket, and he goes, "Your jacket, sir." Yes, it is. I have the receipt to prove it.
There's an ET reference where I don't remember how it comes about, but the Dr. Meinheimer is in a wheelchair and he somehow gets like launched away and like flies across the moon like the silhouette in ET.
You don't remember that they spilled some sort of liquid on the fake doctor's wheelchair and it goes out of control and
That's
destroys
right.
everything, and Frank is on him upside down in a very
Yes. Nice.
fun position.
Yep.
Yeah. And then he gets out of control and zoom out the window it goes. Yeah. But Jane and Frank start to get back together, and there's a very romantic ghost spoof happening.
And Jerry Zucker did Ghost, right?
I don't know, actually.
Okay, let me look it up. Yeah, Jerry Zucker.
Look at that.
Oh, I could purchase a ghost detector.
Okay.
I hate AI. There's a bit toward the end where like Jane has found out that her boyfriend sucks and the whole evil plot and whatever, and she's trying to help Frank. She's supposed to like go hold a door open so they can enter the fundraiser at the end, or the wherever they're going to present this research, and her boyfriend ends up spotting her, and he's like, "Why are you just standing outside?" And she says, "I wanted to get some fresh air." But she's standing next to like a bunch of fish crates, like, and she says, "I grew up on Lake Erie. There's nothing quite like it."
On the shores of Lake Erie?
On the
Fresh
shores
fish
of
in the
Lake
air?
Erie. I don't know. As someone else who grew up on the shores of Lake Erie, I wouldn't say that I smelled fish all the time. I don't know.
I mean, it happens on occasion, but you got to be like on the lake.
Right? Yeah, really. She really grew up on the shore, maybe.
Yeah, she's a shoreman.
As a child.
In her kitchen earlier, when Frank's trying to convince her that her boss isn't her boss, and he's like, "Oh, I noticed these things." something about like he used to have this picturesque memory, but when he meets him again, Meinheimer doesn't recognize him, so he's questioning Jane about it. So,
Hmm.
well, that explains a lot. Like, why he does this now, and why he's no longer left-handed, why he can walk sometimes now, and all this other stuff. Are like, what the fuck,
Right.
Jane?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jane. I noted how many people we have falling off buildings this time because, like I
Hmm.
said, I noticed a trend. Jane's boyfriend falls. He ends up like bouncing off of a, what is it, a canopy like over a front door, but then he gets eaten by a lion.
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay. Barbara
there it
Bush
is.
also flips over a ledge at the end.
Yeah, they're really mean to Babs in this one, huh?
I know. I did kind of want to point out, I don't know. There are a lot of jokes about this man being in a wheelchair, Dr. Meinheimer, and I don't know if I loved all of them.
Yeah, I don't remember catching too many when he was the real doctor, or maybe I'm getting confused now. But like, there was some when he was the impersonator, but then
Hmm.
we knew he wasn't actually in the wheelchair. So I
Yeah,
don't know
that's
if
true.
it was supposed to be funny or I don't know.
Hmm. I did make a note too, which I mentioned already. Like, seems like we play around with Jane's identity in every movie
Hmm.
because I don't think they mention anything about environmentalism. And then in this movie, it's like this great passion of hers, like to the point where she and Frank bought a swath of rainforest to save or something.
Yeah,
And then he like slashes and burns it to build their Drano.
yeah. I was
Um,
totally unaware that in 1991 we were talking about all this renewable energy. I think I vaguely remember like the hole in the ozone layer, but I don't know. I was 6, so like I can't really remember.
yeah, that could be part of it too. We were kids.
Hmm.
Anything else you want to point out about this one?
Did we talk about the ending? Like what? Like how he solves the case? I don't remember. If we did
No,
or
it's not
not.
important.
Fair enough. Fuck it. Moving on.
Okay. So this was the most commercially successful of all the Naked Gun films. It had a budget of 23 million and it grossed 192 million. Critics' reviews were mixed, which we're going to see with this and the next one, but still did really, really well. So you get another one.
Yeah, I feel like the success for this film was piggybacked off of the first.
Hmm.
This is, pre Rotten Tomatoes score, and like
Yes.
people had to go out to see it, and hence the $192 million coming in.
Yeah. I will say this one is probably my least favorite.
Same. I still laughed pretty often, but overall, like story and everything, jokes, it was not
Hmm.
as good for me, I guess, as 1 and 3.
Yeah, there were definitely parts that I laughed at still, but yeah, the story kind of fell flat for me, and I just didn't think it was as funny as the other
Mm-hmm.
two. Like, if I was going to revisit any of these, this would be my last choice.
Mm, that's fair. Did want to give a shout out to whoever the actor was that portrayed George Bush because he did a really good job.
Hmm.
I thought that was a really good impersonation.
Yeah. Oh, I did want to point out, did you know that Weird Al had a cameo in this one too? Okay, he's not Weird Al. He's apparently some guy in the bar that Frank opens a door into. Like he gets hit with the door that Frank opens at the bar. I did not realize until I was, doing my research on all of these. Weird Al is in every movie, but this is the one movie where he doesn't play himself.
See, I didn't know that. That's awesome. And
I
of course, he
totally
gets hit
missed
by a door.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I caught that gag because, like I said, this one starts that new line of jokes. Other than in the next movie when
Hmm.
he accidentally kills his first fiance.
Well, do you want to get into the next movie then?
Yes,
All right. Naked Gun 33 and a Third, The Final Insult. Directed by Peter Siegel, released March 18th, 1994, rated PG-13.
Frank, now a retired cop and house husband, gets bored after 6 months, and what started out as a small favor for Ed and the police squad turns to Frank getting to go undercover in prison. As no surprise, it upsets Jane, and she ends up leaving Frank again. Can Frank stop the bomber from blowing up the Oscars, killing many, as well as win back Jane one final time?
Okay. This one was my introduction to the Naked Gun series and Leslie Nielsen. My uncles, when I was younger, were like really into comedy. They actually are the ones that got me into Weird Al as a kid too. I did not see this movie with them, but I sought it out because they were talking about how funny it was or how funny Leslie Nielsen was. I don't think I knew there were other ones. Like you had mentioned, I
Hmm.
thought as a kid it was just a standalone thing and like the cover looked funny, like you said. Revisiting it, like I know it's PG-13, but I'm kind of surprised I was allowed to watch this. Like it's probably the raunchiest of all of them in terms of some of
Definitely
the
is.
jokes.
Yeah.
But also maybe I don't know if I ever watched this with my parents, so that could be part of it too. But much like Ghostbusters 2, I watch this all the time, over and over. I know I eventually owned it on VHS, and I never watched the other two until much later.
Hmm.
Also like Ghostbusters.
Yeah. I don't remember if I've seen this first at my grandparents because they had them all, or in my best friend's basement. I was like into horror and action and stuff at that age, and my friend and his brother, they introduced me to like Weird Al, or I knew of Weird Al, but like really got into that because of them and Leslie
Mhm.
Nielsen. So like they brought some of that silly comedy to me, and I brought them like horror. Um, that's great. That's what friends do, I guess.
Yeah.
That was the one I watched often at their house or at my grandma's, and then realized, oh wait, 33 and a third. Oh, it's a third movie, not just a dumb title. There's two more.
Mhm.
Let's check them out.
So, this is the first of our movies not to be directed by David Zucker. He
Mm-hmm.
does come back as a co-writer, but again, the rest of Zaz were only involved as executive producers. It's Peter Siegel's directorial debut. He went on to do a lot of other comedies. The original title apparently was Naked Gun 33 and a third, just for the record. 33 and a third is a reference to the revolutions per minute that a phonograph record plays. The studio made them change it because they didn't think anyone would get the joke.
I feel like that's part of the joke, though. If you don't get it, like it's funny. Like
Hmm.
I don't know. Sometimes an inside joke is kind of funny.
Well, and apparently they had a lot of option. Like they were just like brainstorming like 20 different things, and the final insult was the one that they were like, yeah, we all like that one. That's fine. So we open with this turns out to be a dream sequence that is, as you pointed out, most likely spoofing the Untouchables. I always think of Battleship Potemkin because
I mean,
I went to film school and we had to watch it.
we did watch this movie, and yes, you aren't incorrect, but I
Hmm.
think for this specific movie, The Untouchables is the specific scene they're parodying,
Yeah,
which does homage to Battleship.
right.
But in Untouchables, they are in a train station. They have the baby carriage in a shootout
Hmm.
with mobsters. So like it's very much like, and then of course these movies are making fun of pop culture, which I
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
know if Battleship Potemkin is a pop culture icon
I mean, I think it is unbeknownst to many people.
because of
Because
these other
whenever you
references. Yeah.
see the baby carriage coming down the stairs like that with the shooting, like that is Battleship Potemkin.
Yes.
But yes, I agree with you. It's probably more so an Untouchables parody, but when I see it, that's immediately what I think of is Battleship Potemkin because I am a dork.
I'm not going to argue.
But yes, I did really like this though. The chaos of it all, but then also they're all trying to catch. The difference here is there are multiple baby carriages, right? There's a point where Nordberg like gets one of the carriages down safely and he's celebrating holding the baby like it's a football, like he's dancing with it. And
Yeah.
the mom has to come back and be like, "Sir, can I have
Well,
that?"
yeah. Yeah. Well, what's even funnier is before that happens. So like they're in a stakeout trying to get this mobster, and like there's a bunch of moms with babies everywhere, and they all start helping him. And then there's a shootout. Ed is stuck at the top of the steps trying to unholster his gun from his little ankle thing, and
Okay.
just it's like a this every time they cut back to him, it's stuck in a different way. His socks, whatever. Norberg does end up saving the baby that he's like holding on to,
Hmm.
but while Frank is with every time they show Frank with different guns shooting the bad guys. Before the touchdown dance that you mentioned, I was laughing way before that because all these other babies that they're supposed to be projecting are like flying in the air, and he's in the background like catching them one at a time, almost like he's a circus clown.
Yeah.
And then when they're all safe, he starts doing like a celebration dance, and he goes to
Yeah.
spike the baby, and you hear, "That's my baby!" Yeah, it's not to take away from what you said, but I want to just enhance it because
No.
that whole scene every time cracks me up. This is one of the scenes that I thoroughly remember from this film.
Yes. Yep, agreed. I was about to make a note while I was watching it that this is our first opening without like parroting world leaders, but never mind because then they bring out, I believe it's Bill Clinton is the president
Yep.
and the Pope.
Yeah.
Because during all this chaos, someone's like, "Oh my God, it's the president! Oh my God, it's the Pope!" And then they have to also protect, them from being
Yeah.
shot.
It
Um,
was kind of funny to see a new president. You're like, oh man, Naked Gun has gone through at least two presidents that I'm aware of. This franchise is, and then of course they have to like point out what president is the president
mhm.
at the time because they have to make the pop culture references
Presidents come and go, but Queen Elizabeth remains the same.
until Reggie Jackson got her. Sorry, didn't get her. He didn't get her.
Yeah, he was innocent.
He
Didn't
was
you see
innocent.
his tweet?
I did not from 2 years ago. I'm sorry.
Oh,
So, as per usual, we get the opening sequence as described in the first one. Obviously, it happens in two, but whatever. This one definitely stands out, obviously, because I've seen it more often. But I thought this one was the funniest of the three. I remember the cop car, it's going through, it's in a pinball machine, it's on a water slide, a bobsled course.
mhm.
It's at the end of A New Hope where they're shooting into the little hole to destroy
Yeah.
the Death Star. It's literally just shot for shot, only instead it's got the police bubble in front of it. And
Mhm.
then it kind of Jurassic Park, sort of, because this would have been when Jurassic Park came out like a year ago. Yeah. So
Oh,
Jurassic Park just
yeah.
came out a year ago, and I guess they're kind of making a little homage to it, but more like a 1970s claymation style, I think.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be Jurassic Park, I'm assuming.
Well, there is also a Jurassic Park spoof for sure later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jane's a lawyer now, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
New
said, we
movie,
just,
new career.
yeah, switch it up every time. But also really, really wants kids. I'm sure that this scene of her being in court with like all the women around her having their babies, like, I'm sure a lot of this went over my head when I was watching this repeatedly as a child.
Yeah.
Um, and it ends up that this is, causing trouble in her marriage with Frank, that she kind of forced him to retire. She also wants a kid. He is doing his house husband thing, which I thought was so funny. I love the bits where he's doing kind of the housework and grocery shopping. And there's a point where he even tells Ed and Nordberg when they come to visit him, they have to go because he has to get a roast in the oven or something. Um, but it's watching this when I was older, like it's weird that we're at a point where Frank is retired and not just like he's gotten a different career, like he's retired, but then they're also talking about having a baby. Like it's just so many like life events happening at once, like all at the same time that are kind of
Yeah.
different stages of life.
Yeah,
Um
Frank's retired because he's what 68 in this movie. So let's have a baby, but she's probably she'd be like 48. So I don't know.
yeah, I don't know, just go with it, I guess. But yeah, so they're having trouble in their relationship again. And I couldn't help kind of rolling my eyes at this constant like conflict between Jane and Frank because I don't know. I just feel like I understand you need a conflict. I understand he needs a personal conflict outside of whatever case he's trying to solve because they did mention earlier when trying to work on the script for the first one, they felt like having the romantic storyline, you know, brought it all together. But watching them so close together, it's just like, "Oh, okay, you guys are fighting again?" Like again? Like could you just talk to each other?
Yeah, I guess that's the difference of watching them 2 to 3 years apart when they're
Mhm.
new and watching them back to back to back. But even still, like, obviously I didn't get to watch them new, but I would think I would be tired of that too by the third movie. Like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
Can we do something else?
Well, and in this movie, she ends up being taken hostage. Like, you could have still had that storyline without them having, like broken up for a little bit or whatever. Like they are
Right.
in the first bit. I don't know. I just kind of felt like it was a lazy way to drive everything forward. It's like, oh, okay, they're going to break up again. And
Yeah, and the reasoning is weird too. So they're having marital issues and, you know, baby and lack of baby making and
mm-hmm,
all that kind of stuff. But when we'll jump ahead a little bit here, but she has like a Thelma Louise subplot
mm-hmm,
line with her friend Louise, and they get in the car. She's like, "Yeah, no more caring about everyone's needs, and I'm going to be a lone woman." And this, like, she's like emancipating herself from this marriage,
mm-hmm.
but she's really not, because she earlier in therapy mentions like, "Oh, he hates me because I work too much, and he's retired and bored." And so
Yeah.
it's like I feel like what she's saying in one scene goes against what she's saying in another, because it feels like, if anything,
Yeah.
Frank's the bored one. Frank wants to be emancipated from the house chores, and he's
Yeah.
bored and wants to go back to work. So that kind of also was like, I don't know. It's a little stretch for Jane here, but it gets her to get to the cabin where she becomes a hostage. So not the strongest storyline there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's my issue with it is like it all felt like a bit of a stretch just to create some conflict. Whereas, again, you could have just had the conflict of him going back to do a case, which he does, and her just not being happy about it. And then she gets taken hostage. Like, you didn't have to have, I don't know, all this extra back and forth. Yeah, but speaking of, Frank going back to work, he ends up doing this undercover job at what ends up being a sperm bank. Anna Nicole Smith works there as a nurse. She's the girlfriend of a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of forgot about her being in this movie. I don't know. It's the one part I forgot about.
Yeah, I think I sort of forgot when I saw her. I was like, oh yeah, but because I haven't thought about these movies until we mentioned watching it for the podcast, I just guess I just haven't actively thought of them. So I didn't think of her. I just think of Leslie Nielsen and Jane.
Yes.
When watching these movies, where I got to watch them, they play the trailer before you click play, and I watched all
Hmm.
three trailers. Didn't mention the other two because that's fine. This one I wanted to mention because they emphasize Anna Nicole Smith in this movie like three times, like, and they
Mm,
make fun of themselves for doing it. By the third time, they go, "Did we mention?" And they just, of course, show different shots of her in her outfits. So
interesting.
they,
Okay.
you mentioned like, oh, this is a little raunchier. I think the new writers and director kind of, the comedy changed a little bit, as I mentioned earlier, and you can see
Yeah.
that there's a lot less of the Frank slash Nielsen line and quips that I like about Leslie Nielsen, and more of the raunchy, dirty jokes, which is fine, but like it's over the top, and there's no
Yeah.
balance. Like I think the first one had balance.
Yes. But yeah, rewatching this whole scene or this whole bit of him like being at the sperm bank, I think he just thinks he's going to a regular doctor's office because he's like pretending to have a broken arm. And then turns out it's a sperm bank. And the running gag is that, he ends up donating a lot. I was like, I was a kid watching this.
Right?
Like, I
Yeah,
don't know,
same.
man.
Yeah, same. And
Um,
it's funny too because by the time I've seen this movie, I'm probably like 12 years old, and these are 12-year-old boy jokes totally. I think as an adult, the funnier joke when he goes to the sperm bank, again, he thinks it's a regular doctor's office, and it's not revealed until he goes in and that the door closes, and he's pretending to be a Smith, Mr. Smith, I guess, and he's feigning an old football arm injury from playing backyard football with his uncle.
yeah.
And so when the head nurse or doctor, the older woman, she's taken to the back room and just like, oh,
Hmm.
you're having problems, and he's describing a bad arm, doesn't sound that way from her point of view, and that's like that. I thought that back and forth was funny, and the very end got me
Yeah.
laughing the most when she opens the door for him to go to
Hmm.
leave a sample, and he realized where he's at, and he goes, in here?" And she's like, "Well, it's not exactly the backyard, but..."
Yeah,
I
I did like that.
cracked up. But then
Yeah.
like two or three more times, and it's like, okay, it's, we get it.
There was a point when they ask him if he wants a video and he asks them if they have Spartacus. And I just thought it was funny though that we had two movies this season that mentioned Spartacus, but like in a totally silly way, like not at all
Yeah.
like as that movie probably wants to be remembered.
No.
Sporadicus.
uh I just feel like on this rewatch, I enjoyed this first half a little less than I remember, and
Hmm.
also remember less than I thought. Once we get to like the second half and all the Oscar stuff, I remember like shot for shot almost for some reason. I don't know why.
Yes.
I know I watched the whole movie. It was VHS. I couldn't just skip to the next chapter that I liked. I had to sit down and watch
Right.
all of it. I don't know why the second half is so much stronger to me.
Same. I remember the Oscar stuff very well. I I didn't remember most of the first half. Like I remember him like breaking out of prison with the criminal, and I remember the criminal's like mom. Like
Hmm.
I remember their characters. But that being said, there is this one joke I really liked when Jane does run off and does her whole Thelma and Louise thing. She has to leave the bar that they're at because she's overwhelmed with emotion because they're playing their song and it's 99 bottles of beer on the wall.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
no longer Ding Dong the Witch is Dead, I guess.
Well, in that movie, he said, "No, play our other song. That must be it."
Maybe.
Maybe. I also liked that there was a version
Still
of
laughing at how shrill that.
"Ding Dong, which is dead." Yeah, I
Anyway.
like that in a previous episode of ours, there was another version of 99 Bottles of Beer on the Wall from Tiny Toons. So we have another
Oh, yeah.
accidental kind of through line here, or connection, I should say.
Yeah. No, we planned all this.
Yeah, sure. Sure, we did. From a movie I haven't seen in 30 years and forgot this
Right.
part happened. Obviously, he goes undercover, he's in prison, and there's a whole, like, 10-minute long Shawshank parody, which I thoroughly liked.
I did want to point out, because I, mentioned that murder book I'm reading. This guy, at least when they first start tracking him, is in Tacoma, home of all the serial killers because of their arsenic and lead brains.
Hmm.
I just think it's interesting that I'm reading a book all about Tacoma and then it gets mentioned again
Yeah.
watching this movie and it's like doesn't come up at any other point in my life. So yeah, like you said, we have a Shawshank parody. I did think it was really funny when they're digging the tunnel and trying to figure out how to get rid of the dirt and they end up with these like huge mounds when they're playing baseball.
Hmm.
They're just like falling off of them.
They're covered in
I
mud
will
and dirt, and no one seems to notice.
I will say that there's that scene in the showers where Frank, pretending to be a criminal, ends up having like a chastity belt on. And that always makes me think of Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yes.
Like the whole concept of a chastity belt, like that's all I think about is that movie, which is another movie I watched all the time as a
Hmm.
kid.
Hmm.
Also, not really
Same.
sure if I should have been.
Yeah, if the old man in me reflecting back and
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about the sperm bank, seeing like, oh, I watched that as a kid. And then we get to the shower scene where this man clearly has one intent. And I'm like, oh my.
Yeah. 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 Oh, I
um,
watched this as a kid too. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hopefully your kid wasn't watching these movies with you this time around.
No, and it's really funny because like when I first had to watch, well, like before I had watched any of them, I was like, well, these are silly. Like he would probably like them if he ended up having to watch them with me because just sometimes timing does not work out or he gets bored while I'm off doing other things. But no, I'm really glad he didn't, especially the third one. Jeez.
Only really takeaway from the shower scene besides the chastity belt I can think of is that actor, the frizzy haired mustache man. I only
Uh-huh.
recognize him from Ace Ventura 1, the very beginning where he's trying to deliver the package but steals the dog instead.
Okay.
He just usually kind of plays these menacing characters.
Gotcha. Oh, I remember that.
He might have been in Raising Arizona as the bad guy on the bike. I don't
Oh,
fully remember. If
I
not, the
must
guy
have.
looked very similar.
Hmm. So basically we end up at the Oscars. There's a whole plot by this criminal that undercover Frank has befriended that he's going to plant a bomb at the Oscars.
I
I
forget
did
why.
I
Why?
forget why. Oh, I thought like one of those baddies from like the first movie put him up to it somehow because we see Pap Schmear again.
And doesn't Ludwig come back too? But Pap Schmeary for
No, wait,
sure, yeah.
Ludwig's dead.
Oh, maybe think of Patchmere because they kind of look very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does come back because I remember the end now. Yeah.
Yes. I did just want to point out though that I really like, is it Rocco? Is that the criminal?
Yep.
And his mom. They're just such good parodies of like crime films, noir, like
Mm-hmm.
I kept thinking of like White Heat and James Cagney and a lot of this and like their interactions, but also like obviously some of the shots and lines are set up to spoof that sort of thing too.
Yeah.
But so we get to the Oscars and Weird Al is back.
Apparently for the third time, and
Apparently for
it's
the
news.
third time, yeah.
And he's like in all his Weird Al glory in this one. The perm is grown out. It's long. He's
Yeah,
got a Hawaiian shirt on.
this is how
Eventually,
I
yeah.
think of Weird Al, yes.
This is my Weird Al.
Yeah. He's attending the Oscars with Vanna White for some reason.
As you do.
Um, I also feel like we need to kind of point out how big of a celebrity Vanna White was at the time too, just for like being on Wheel of Fortune her whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's. I
Yeah.
mean, that's it. That's a fact.
And yes, we get so many cameos in this fake Oscars ceremony. First of all, just wanted to point it out that the Academy Awards were apparently fine with them using their likeness as long as they did not use the word Oscar and as long as they did not show any actual awards, like the award statues.
It's pretty generous if you think about it.
Kind of, yeah, especially when you consider like the baseball stuff from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Mary Lou Retton cameo, which I'm always shocked by for some reason. Every year my husband and I watch Scrooged and I'm shocked at the very beginning that she's like flipping around as Tiny Tim. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe her whole second half of her career is just movie cameos
I
and
mean,
Vertigo.
well, yes, I remember her from those commercials. Yes.
Yeah, yes. But yeah, I like all these fake movies they show us clips of
Oh my
because
god,
they're
yes.
obviously making fun of like Oscar bait movies.
I not only remembered these, I was
I did not.
anticipating them, and
Okay.
I laughed just as hard as when I was 12. The dancing, singing Mother Teresa. She's talking about how hungry she is and how much she's gonna eat.
She's like
Uh,
stealing like crutches from children.
yeah, it's so good.
I think
Uh,
I read that the singing voice was our director. He has some cameos.
oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
Okay.
he also is it him? He has like various cameos in like the fake movies.
Okay.
And you know there's a fake movie called Sawdust and Mildew that ends up thinking they won at first. One of the three is Peter Siegel, our director, and then the others are Robert Locash and William Kerr, who I think are the co-writers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they're the trio that thinks they won when they said it's the bomb, and they're like, "Oh, it's our movie." Yeah.
The other fake film that cracks me up is Geriatric Park.
Yes.
And that one's a little more brief, I believe, than the Mother Teresa one, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just like the scene where the T-Rex comes out, only instead it's like a giant old man with a walker.
Yep.
And he's just being very stereotypically old and like obnoxious. It's also the fact that he's 50 foot tall is hilarious.
So during all this, Frank sneaks backstage, but he ends up getting, well, I'm sorry, he first impersonates Phil Donahue because he realizes Donahue's about to go on stage. Frank thinks he needs to get on stage to like, I don't know, make sure the current award doesn't have the bomb in it, like the envelope doesn't have the bomb in it.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought though this was so funny when people are backstage like, what the heck's wrong with Donahue? Like they keep just yelling at Phil Donahue. They're like, God, like Phil Donahue, what's he doing now?
One of the producers is like, please note not to re-invite Phil next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally forgot that he gets into like a brawl with Raquel Welch. Even like when she finally gets away from him, she's like so off balance that she flips over something and falls. So like we have
Yep.
more people like
Flipping over
flipping over.
things.
Yeah.
Goes from being Phil Donahue and like he scuttles backstage and he somehow steals a top hat and cane and now he's a part of the dance choir. He clearly doesn't know the dance moves,
Right.
and they really emphasize this, and it's so well done how he's trying to remain I guess incognito, although everyone,
Or like in character, yeah.
well, he's trying to be incognito on stage, even though because now he's a new person. He's not Phil anymore, but he only has a top hat. And what
Oh, right, yeah.
this movie does a little differently than the first movie is like at least the producers, they show him backstage. They think it's Phil still. It's like, why is Phil dancing now? But
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's Donahue again.
yeah, but him doing the dancing throws off the bad guys looking for him. So it's like half the people
Yes.
looking for him are confused, the other half think it's Phil still. But they're all doing these other moves, and he's just like flaying his arms and legs, and he's like sort of doing the dance moves, but sort of
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
And I feel like this was done so well that they might have just told Nielsen to like, okay, just copy them as best as possible without him
Hmm.
knowing what the dance moves were. Because he looks
Yeah.
so much like he's trying so hard to actually do it that it's believable to me that he was
Yeah.
actually trying to portray the dance moves.
Yep.
And it just made it like it gets funnier and funnier.
I'm kind of amazed at how great he is at physical comedy when like his career didn't really even take off until he was older.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
But
you
no,
didn't see how chiseled he was when he took off his shirt in front of Anna Nicole?
right? Speaking of Anna Nicole, I wanted to point out that there's the bit where she's kind of trying to seduce the security backstage or whoever's, in charge of watching the envelopes. And nothing she's doing is really working. Like she's trying to be really sexy. And what he ends up getting distracted by is bubble wrap.
Yeah, I remembered that scene too, and it's just as confusing now as it was then.
Yeah, I don't know. But also, speaking of the Anna Nicole character, one part that really did not hold up to me is when, for some reason, Frank finally gets backstage and she's kind of trying to seduce him, saying she wants to go straight, and then find out through silhouette that she has a penis, basically.
Yeah,
And Frank is so shocked by this, he's like running around finding somewhere to vomit. And it sets off a whole chain of events. But it just felt like such a cheap joke to me. Like, maybe also because this was a thing in Ace Ventura, which is also something that came out when I was a kid.
I forgot until right before it happened. Like, oh, I
Yes.
remember what's going to happen now. But yeah, obviously, 1991. These jokes were made at the expense of. I don't know what to call the situation because I don't know what the joke exactly was supposed to be. Was she transvestite? I mean, I don't think the term transgender obviously wasn't really a thing then, at least not
Maybe not so much
publicly.
in popular
Yeah.
use, yeah. I just felt like overall rewatching the third one, there were a lot more like jokes like at the expense of minorities
Mm,
than it was certainly that I realized when I was a kid watching it, but I don't know, just they have that joke about like they can't get a taxi because none of the taxi drivers speak English. They can't get any of the taxi drivers to call 911. I feel like some of that's kind of lazy. And also, we really didn't have that in the first two.
no. And again, here we go now with the comedy changing, and
Hmm.
it's more of the slapstick silliness that kind of is what predominant in this movie. Like a lot of the Oscar stuff, once Frank is outed as not Phil Donahue, and he starts dancing, and there's a lot of you know comedic violence, and there's running around and jumping and throwing up into tubas, and a lot of things you would see in a cartoon.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I couldn't help feeling like you could have had a stronger sequence taking some of this out. I don't know. Or just changing it somehow.
In fact, really, all of that be damned. What does it add to the besides Phil, quote unquote, Phil throwing up into a tuba,
Hmm.
where she like, I don't know, what's the whole point of her even wanting to go straight to begin with, and then trying to seduce him, and
Yeah, it was
then the
just,
silhouette gag, like none of it really adds anything besides like someone thought it'd be funny if this bombshell had a penis.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but in the end, our bad guy takes Jane up to, what do we call it? They're like up in the rafters.
Yeah,
Like okay. He ends up dying because he flips over that, like you do.
surprise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, he doesn't.
Or
He
well, he
flips out.
gets sorry, no, he gets caught in like the rope or a cord, but he does fall. Like,
He does fall, but he doesn't die there because something else happens where I can't remember why. I literally watched this last night, but he like gets like shot up in the air, and there's like a private jet or something, and this is where we see Pap Schmear. He like literally his head comes into the toilet, Pap Schmear, and he like gets knocked off the toilet, and then the card gets opened up and it blows up in the air in the
S-
plane.
So what happens is Rocco, our bad guy, takes Jane up to the rafters.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically they do that fancy criminal movie thing where they like shoot the pulley and they get pulled up.
Yeah, of
Frank tries to do that as well and ends up getting tangled in the
course.
rope. And so I do really like this scene where Rocco's up there with Jane and like threatening her and like making his demands or whatever, and Frank's in the background like basically doing acrobatics, like these really graceful like acrobatics while he's tangled with the rope. But I think what ends up happening to Rocco is that he does fall, but he's like tangled in a cable or a rope, because you have that bit of him falling where you see him from above. Like that's such a callback to like older gangster movies, like I said, like James Cagney. But then I think Frank kind of grabs the end of the rope, but it ends up bouncing him all the way back up through the roof. And that's how he ends up breaking through the plane with
Sure.
pap smear in it. And as he flew up, he also took the bomb with him. Like he grabs the bomb from whoever had it, and
Yeah.
pap smear is gone for good, I guess.
And just like 1 and 2 and this one, it's we get to the ending and it's like, okay.
Frank and Jane are cool again.
Yeah, presumably.
Yeah. And they end up having a baby.
Yeah, it's weird looking little kid. It's disguised or is costumed to look like a really small Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
So weird.
Okay. Do you have any other points to make about it?
I think I've made most of them. Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. So 33 and a third ended up being the lowest grossing of all the Naked Gun films, but it still made over 100 million. It was still like a hit, still number one at the box office. In 2009, a fourth movie was written by Alan Spencer for Paramount called Naked Gun 4, Rhythm of Evil. It's confusing as to why Paramount brought Alan Spencer on board. This guy like really had nothing to do with the other movies. Our Zaz team had no involvement and actually tried to stop it from being made. But then there was a quote I found from Alan Spencer saying he was trying to save the movie from having a bad script, as if he was doing this as a favor to the franchise.
Oh.
Um, so this Rhythm of Evil would have focused on Leslie Nielsen training a new generation of cops who I think presumably would then be in more films like to carry on the franchise without Leslie Nielsen. Paramount kept reducing Leslie Nielsen's role for budgetary reasons, and eventually they removed him completely. So Alan Spencer quit the project, and this just ended up never getting made. Paramount was also working on a reboot around 2013, and they had Ed Helms attached to play a Frank character.
I could see that.
An actual reboot is finally coming out this year, 2025, with Liam Neeson playing Frank Drebin Jr., who I guess we saw being born in the third one. It doesn't seem like any of the original cast or writers are involved in this at all. I actually found a very angry interview with, which Zucker was it? David Zucker and Pat Proft. He was kind of like a fourth member of their team. He helped with the scripts for the Naked Gun movies, but he wasn't like one of the main writers. So this was in the Hollywood Reporter. They were not asked to be involved, and they apparently had their own script for a fourth one that they had been working on too that Paramount didn't want to move forward with. So I just included their quotes. So this is from David Zucker. Pat, Mike, and I wrote a script for Naked Gun 4, and we heard John Gonda at Paramount had read the script and laughed all the way through it. But somewhere along the line, they decided not to go with Pat and Mike and me. So that's when they got Seth MacFarlane, who is a writer and producer on the new one. He has Akiva Schaffer directing Liam Neeson. I was never able to meet with Seth. And then Proft adds, I'm not happy, and there's a story with it, but I'm not pleased. It may come out and it may be great, and good for that, but I sure as fuck should be writing it. I should have done this one.
Good for him.
Yeah, basically they're kind of stuck because Paramount owns the rights to like the characters and all that. So they have no recourse to stop it from being made. They're obviously very mad that their franchise is continuing on without them.
Yeah, that's unfortunate too because they're still around, and I feel like they could probably do it justice and maybe even a little redemption because as we talked about the comedy different as time goes on and only one of them was involved in the third one, right? As like a
David
co-writer.
Zucker, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we got them all back together. It could be maybe as good as the first one. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it could be like a little redemption arc for them. And like, I don't know. I'm obviously not 12 anymore, so I don't know how I feel about Seth MacFarlane. Like, I haven't watched Family Guy in years. His live action
Hmm.
stuff is chuckable to me. I don't laugh out loud exactly, so I'm
Yeah.
nervous about this.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was involved with the new one until I read this interview. I did want to point out, though, that Pamela Anderson seems to be the female lead, the romantic interest in the new one. She was actually offered the Anna Nicole Smith role in 33 and a Third, but she had to turn it down for scheduling.
Hmm.
So, just kind of a funny full circle
Yeah,
moment.
came back to it.
But yeah, to your point, too, like, we don't have our original crew coming back, and like, really all the main cast members have passed at this point besides Priscilla Presley.
Yeah, maybe she'll show up as his mom.
That would be funny. I forgot to point out that when we were talking about 33 and a Third, that OJ was arrested and accused of murder like 3 months after 33 and a Third came out.
I think as a whole, the movie's held up. I definitely think one might have been my favorite as an adult. It had the
Mm-hmm.
smartest humor, but the silly humor in it was done in a way that I would think I laughed as a kid and as I did now as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
That you can make silly still be appealing to adults. You have to just not go over the top with it, and maybe not as raunchy as the third one.
Yeah, I agree with you for sure. The first one ended up being my favorite on this rewatch. Like I said, if I were to revisit them, I'd maybe forget the second one exists. But although I feel like them having that Wizard of Oz song and how shrill it is be like their song, that might be like the joke that has me laughing the hardest out of all the three movies. It's the guy's voice.
It is.
Just
I was taking a sip of a beverage and just finished it when that happened. And I'm so happy because I'm sure that would have been a literal spit take.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall, I feel like it takes a lot for me to like actually laugh out loud at something that I've seen before, and especially like this is not my typical type of humor I would go for, like the really obvious silliness. But like we said, some of these lines were just so freaking clever, and then also some of them it's just the timing, how unexpected it is, like with this song. I was laughing so hard at like all throughout the three of them, and I wasn't expecting that personally on a rewatch.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't feel like the third one held up as much for me. Like we said, kind of raunchier that it needed to be, but still as this, relic of my childhood. I love the whole Oscars sequence.
Yeah. That part held up for the most part for me. I think it was the most disappointing of the three as a rewatch because remember watching it so much, I had higher
Yes.
expectations. And I don't know if it's because I saw it too much. And so some of the jokes I anticipated, or it just the humor, I think as a standalone movie is fine. But like watching the first two and seeing the humor change, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
kind of a letdown.
Yeah. I agree with all of that. Yeah. Well, we would love to hear your thoughts on the Naked Gun franchise as well as your own favorite summer movies. You can find us on Instagram at Back Through the Lens Pod and on Facebook at Back Through the Lens. You can also email us at backthroughthelenspodcast@gmail.com. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and review. It's the best way to support our show.
If you enjoyed our show today, please give us a like and follow for updates on new and future episodes. Our show is produced by our hosts, Rachel Campbell and myself, Joe Siomek, with additional help and support from Peter Telep of LPV Productions. Peter, Rachel, and I are also the executive producers. Our awesome logo is brought to you by Tom Fracci, and our wonderful theme song is by Matt Tarek. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more trips into our movie watching past on Back Through the Lens. First go, Joe. Let's fucking go.
Look at
I
you.
practiced this morning.